we ain't gonna go over all of them. But I sitting there thinking again, when we're singing the Star Spangled Banner, and about every time I sing it and stuff, good. Put yourself back in 1814. We're at Fort Henry. We're there on the ship with Francis Scott Key. Everything's going off that night. I mean, the British is bombing Fort Henry there in Baltimore. I mean, shelling it hard. You know he's got to be worried. You know he don't know what's going on, the smoke, everything stuff. But you know there's got to be just that little bit there where he's been an American enough. I can't remember. I think at the time he might have been around 30 or something. So he's been American for getting into his good adult life. He knows what it is to be a real American. So there's got to be a little bit of pride there. Him saying we've already beat the British once. We can beat them again. And here comes morning. Here comes the sunrise. All of a sudden, smoke clears. And he sees Old Glory waving again. Of course, he gets pen and paper down and he starts writing it. But I know there's got to be some people on that British ship that he looked at and said, I told you you wasn't gonna knock us down. We beat you once, we're gonna beat you again. We had God on our side the first time, we got God on our side this time. I believe that was true whenever we become back-to-back World War champions. I mean, truthfully, you look at it, dude, that was world wars. But if it wasn't for America, I believe the French and the English would be speaking German right now. It's amazing the things that can happen whenever God gets his hands in on stuff, whenever we get reminded of our roots, of what we come here and what we're here to do, and that's God's work. Supposed to be going to the Constitution again tonight, and we're going to get to that in a minute, but kind of adding to a little bit from last night and stuff, how I see, we got rights, we are the people, and we got all the rights in the world, or more rights in the world than anybody. We can send our grievances to our senators, but everybody thinks, I'm too young. I don't know, I'm not educated enough. I don't know what to do. Don't know what to say. Or I'm too old. I don't know what to do. I don't know, there's nothing I can do, the thing. But I'm reminded of one story in the Bible. And it's amazing how this happens. 2 Kings 14, verse 20. And Elisha died, and they buried him. And the bands of the Moabites invaded the land at the coming end of the year. And it came to pass, as they were burying a man that beheld, they spied a band of men, and they cast the man into the sepulchre of Elisha. And when the man was let down and touched the bones, Elisha's been there long enough to where it's bones. Touched the bones of Elisha, he revived and stood up on his feet. If God can use the bones of a dead man to revive somebody, think of what he can do with somebody who's just getting started, or somebody who's still got a little bit of life left in them. That's what we have here in America. We have the ability, no matter what age we are, we have to educate ourselves on the issues, on what's going on. And we can do things about it. We are, we the people of the United States. That's how it all starts. But going tonight, to me, one of the most important parts of the Constitution is the Bill of Rights. Yes, there's been a lot of other amendments since the first 10, but to me, the first 10 that is part of the original Constitution to me, and really it is, because if it wasn't for the promise of the Bill of Rights, the Constitution was no guarantee of ratification. And just the main thing with the Bill of Rights. I got my wrong page. Give me just a second. retyped it. I have to get the one where I retyped it. Of course, the Bill of Rights is the first 10 amendments added to the Constitution. These were written to address the objectives raised by the Anti-Federalists. These were the people who wanted more power to go to the states to keep everything balanced. It's originally, whenever all these delegates met in Philadelphia, originally they were not there to write or create the Constitution. They were there to change the Articles of Confederation. And after being there for a day or so, they realized that we basically got to start over. And that's where the Constitution, the idea came to be. Even though James Madison came there already with a blueprint of the Constitution. These are specific guarantees of personal freedoms and rights, clear limitations on the government's power in judicial and other proceedings, and explicit declarations that all powers not specifically granted to the federal government by the Constitution are reserved to the state or the people. These were needed to keep what's called implied powers from the federal government. And implied powers, pretty much what that means is, taking into account what we talked about last night, executive orders. Nowhere in there really in the Constitution does it list out what the president can do as far as executive orders. It says that he is the leader of and holds the executive power. That is where he gets the implied reasoning of his executive orders. James Madison actually opposed these amendments, but later is the one who penned them, stating it was impossible to confine a government to the exercise of express powers. There must necessarily be admitted powers by implication, unless the Constitution descended to recount every minute. And actually, in this, which is my other amendment, besides the Second Amendment, which if it wasn't for the Second Amendment, you still wouldn't have a lot of your other rights. Just that's my personal true opinion on it. But in the 10th Amendment, it calls out, says the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively, or to the people. That last little bit of "or to the people" I find very interesting. That phrase, "or to the people," was actually snuck in. It was handwritten in by the clerk of the Senate as the Bill of Rights circulated between the two houses of Congress. So originally it wasn't on there. It was kind of a sneak in, but I guess it pays good to be sneaky every now and then. Don't let anybody fool you that the Bill of Rights isn't one and the same as the Constitution. Again, like I said, these guarantee essential, unalienable rights and civil liberties where a must that needed to be pointed out in order for ratification of the Constitution. That one thing of the 10th Amendment, where it says, again, the power not delegated to the United States by the Constitution or prohibited by it to the states are reserved to the states or to the people. This amendment is very, very key to keeping the federal government in check on the state level. It might not seem like it, but we do have a little bit of pushback. If we have a legislation in our state that's willing to push back, in which we have a great governor. Yes, he's not as boisterous as some of the other ones like Greg Abbott and DeSantis, but there's been many, many things that McMaster has passed in the past couple of years that some people don't even know about that has really, really pushed back some federal regulations. The Supreme Court actually ruled on this matter in 1992, and to summarize, they said that the 10th Amendment prohibits the federal government from forcing states to pass or not to pass certain legislation or to enforce federal law. This is why some states still thrive even in hard times, and also why some states get scrutinized so much. 10th Amendment allows for the states to create specific guidelines or regulations separate from the federal government. This is one of the main reasons why states can push back on certain issues that are trying to be implemented on the federal level. Hence, case in point, before the Supreme Court finally ruled on it, that's why South Carolina, McMaster himself kind of pushed back hard on the little jabby that Biden was trying to, thought that he could push on everybody. McMaster, if you go back and look at a lot of stuff, he pushed back on that a lot, because it's not, even though he put an executive order out on it, that was more state level stuff, which Supreme Court ruled on that in the state's favors also. One thing that I really like, there's a few clauses, a few things in the Constitution. If you really get to reading specifics, really get to kind of, trying to pull out some of the legal mumbo jumbo and stuff, there's a few things in there to where, granted, hadn't ever passed, hadn't ever worked, but there's some little, sneaky areas in there that I kind of like. And there's a few little fun facts tonight, where, of course, you have the Speaker of the House, which now is Nancy Pelosi. How the Article 1, Section 2 reads that, the House of Representatives shall choose their Speaker and other officers. President pro tempore, which is fourth in line, President, Vice President, Speaker of the House, President pro tempore, comes from the Senate. Right now is a Democrat from Vermont, I think. Can't remember. Article 1, Section 3, it reads, the Senate shall choose their other officers and also a President pro tempore in absence of the Vice President, or when shall be exercised the office of the President of the United States. By reading it word for word, verbatim, and going through the Constitution, nowhere does it say, and it is clear, and there's no law on the books that has changed anything that Congress has passed. By the Constitution, neither one of these positions is required to be a representative or a senator. Now, throughout all the history, they've always been a representative or a senator, because they've always, of course, they're going to choose from their own people. But that's just kind of a fun fact, is it doesn't have to be. I find this interesting here too, and again, we've covered this a couple times. Pastor Jim's covered this too. One of our greatest founding fathers, again, Benjamin Franklin, when leaving on the final day of the Constitutional Congress, the mayor of Philadelphia, his wife, approached Benjamin Franklin and asked him, said, what is the new government going to be? His exact words, a republic, madam, if you can keep it. Wise words from a wise man. Finally, one other thing, the word democracy does not appear once in the Constitution nor in the Declaration. And no matter how much of the stuff, I said, they always keep pushing on us, on everybody. It seems like the Congress just gets more and more corrupt up there. Everyone gets more and more corrupt up there, and it's the morals are gone. Seems like, and you can't and you can't legislate morals. You put as many laws out as you want to. You try to regulate as much as you want to. A murderer is going to murder. A thief is going to steal. A liar is going to lie. I mean, the only way to get that straight is, get God back into it. I find it interesting throughout all the history, and I've pulled a couple examples the past couple nights, that from the time of Carl Becker from the things that not just Abraham Lincoln's done as president, but FDR has done some of the same things too, unconstitutional acts. But there's been a lot of clues and a lot of things where, stuff has been spiraling down and stuff. But I think this is one of the neatest little, I know this is a Constitution here, but I think it's kind of one of the neatest little stories I've come across of kind of like a warning of that there's already foxes in the hen house. But yet, nobody, I guess, heeded the warning. And of all things, a lot of people, you've heard from the Soviet leader, Nikita Khrushchev, he's always said the thing, we will take America without firing a shot. We don't have to invade the United States. We will destroy you from within. There's actually there was one more thing that come across that he said, that some people claim he didn't say. But it come across as, we can't expect the American people to jump from capitalism to communism. But we can assist their elected leaders in giving them small doses of socialism until they awaken one day to find that they have communism. Ronald Reagan actually was very fond of this quote and using it in some speeches before he launched his political career in the 1960s. He used variants of the speech as it appeared in newspapers, in some of his speeches, kind of fighting against communism. In the 1960s, variants of this quote appeared in newspapers and political ads portraying Democratic Party candidates as enemies of freedom. A Democrat senator from Montana, Senator Lee McAuliffe, said this quote is a fabrication attributed to the leader of the Communist Party in order to arouse Americans against their elected officials. Again, in 1962, another Democratic senator from Arizona, Senator Morris K. Udall, said he recruited the Library of Congress to verify the authenticity of the statement attributed to Khrushchev. They claimed they could not produce evidence that Khrushchev actually made the statement. All of this changed, however, all of this changed 4 years later. Whenever the eyewitness, the Ezra Taft Benson, said that he was there when the phrase was uttered. Ezra was President Dwight Eisenhower's Secretary of Agriculture and made the statement during a one-on-one discussion the two had in September of 1959. He stated he was Mr. Khrushchev's host, which he was, for a half a day when he visited the United States in 59. He was against President Eisenhower's decision to have Khrushchev as a state visitor, but President Eisenhower expressed that Khrushchev desired to learn something of American agriculture. It's kind of, I guess we might can grow corn better than they can. That's just me, but I don't know. But after seeing Soviet agriculture, Benson understood. In this meeting, Khrushchev indicated that Benson's grandchildren would live under communism. Benson assured him that he expected to do all in his power that his grandchildren and all other grandchildren would live under freedom. Arrogantly, Khrushchev made this quote, "You Americans are so gullible. No, you won't accept communism outright. But we'll keep feeding you small doses of socialism until you'll finally wake up and you find you've already have communism. We won't have to fight you. We'll so weaken your economy until you fall like overripe fruit in our hands." Documents do show what such a meeting did occur, but of course, no statements were recorded. Did Khrushchev already know something that we didn't know? Or was it already too late then? The warning signs has been there. They've been there for 100 years. There has been some people, who's fought against, moral, unjust, unconstitutional acts and stuff, and it seems like, they do get scrutinized for it. And there's some bad things. Some people who try to do some good stuff, they do bad things too. I actually find this story kind of humorous here. And if you look up the people that I look up here, the big thing everybody says, this is mainly about the abolition. This is about the slave stuff. And of course, in the 1850s, that was a big thing. But I believe there was great moral reasons behind this here. And of all things, this is the South Carolina representative who did this. It's called Caning of Senator Charles Sumner. The battle in Congress can be heated and full of turmoil, but no time was more heated than on May 22nd, 1856. 3 days prior, Senator Charles Sumner of Massachusetts was giving a speech and personally attacking two of his opposing senators, Senator Stephen Douglas of Illinois and Senator Andrew Butler of South Carolina. Douglas was present, and Sumner attacked him to his face, saying he is not a proper model for an American senator. However, South Carolina Senator Butler was not present, and Sumner decided to take the opportunity to mock him and spout off more elaborate insults. Some of the insults are out there, but I didn't write some of them up. You could probably just imagine, though. This did not go over well for Sumner. A fellow kinsman of Butler's, Representative Preston Brooks of South Carolina, decided to take action into his own hands. Now, what he did, I'm not condoning it, but sometimes it has to happen. Had he thought Sumner was a gentleman, he may have challenged him to a duel, which was common for the time. But he believed Sumner to be no gentleman. After the Senate adjourned, Brooks found Sumner in the Senate chamber and commenced to beat Sumner repeatedly with a cane that was used to discipline a dog. Sumner ran blindly around the chamber, trying to protect himself. After a short time, Sumner was carried away out of the chamber, bleeding profusely. Brooks gathered himself and walked out calmly without ever being detained. Both men became heroes in their own respective regions. Brooks was censured, which was reprimanded that sees a representative give up committees that they are on, but it does not remove them from office. But soon, Butler did resign. But then immediately in the special election that was held for his vacant seat, he was reelected. Sumner would not return to the Senate for 3 years later. Sadly, Butler he actually passed away not but a few months later from I can't remember the disease, but it was a disease. But I mean, again, if you read the stories and stuff, yes, a lot of people they can push the slavery issue, the abolitionists, everything and stuff. But I believe Butler kind of, yes, he might have took some of that there, but that was his own kinsman. That was actually one of his cousins who was the senator, and I think he took it, for moral reasons. Now, I'm not condoning you go out and beat somebody with a cane. No, that's far from what I'm saying. But you can kind of see where he was coming from. But if there was, moral reasons there. He was a big advocate for states' rights. So his whole tenure, he was there. And he tried his hardest to fight for state rights. Whenever I started Wednesday night, I started with a Bible verse. Psalm 33:12. Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord, and the people whom he hath chosen for his own inheritance. Tonight my verse has changed. 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people which are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. I think that's where we are. We're about as low as we can go as a nation. Can we get lower? Yeah, I believe we probably can. And I believe even up till November it's a hard road to hoe. I believe after November it's going to be a hard road to hoe. Because sad fact is, even when you get new people in there, the almighty dollar to some people is still king. And you get them new people in there, it don't take long. All these senators and representatives, they were new once. And it probably won't take long for them to get there and look and say, hey, I can make a little money off of this. But we got to pray for them. If it goes the way that God wants, it's going to go the way that God wants it either way. You look in Job, how we're studying this, Mr. Tim is teaching us in Sunday school. God has a plan either way, good or bad or indifferent. It doesn't matter. God has a plan. But we've got to be willing to accept that plan no matter what it is. As Job said, though he may slay me, shall I trust him. End result's the same. If we're saved, we're going to heaven. We ain't got to worry about none of this. We ain't got to worry about a thing. But while we're here, we can work like them dead bones. It's pretty bad when a set of dead bones can work harder than we can. I'm going to close with one final verse. We were talking about earlier tonight about favorite Bible verses. My verse has changed a lot, but I still do go back to this, and I love it. Philippians 4:13, and I'm pretty sure that's somebody in here is probably one of their favorite verses. I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. Christ strengthens me. I don't strengthen me. I can go to the gym all I want to, do everything I can. And this physical body, this physical form, it's still going to wither away. It's still going to die. But the soul doesn't die. While we're here, and I'm guilty just as anybody else. I don't, I don't do what I'm supposed to do. I try. I'm human. I ask for forgiveness. But I'm going to try my hardest to do what God entails for me to do. And for this here as a country, as Pastor Jim says, the only way to get this country right is for the church to get right. And we've got to get it right. We've got to be pillars in the community. We got to go from here. No, you ain't going to change a nation overnight. A nation wasn't made overnight. That was many, many years. Even the Constitution itself took, I think it was almost 120 days just to write. But we can change hearts. And if we change hearts, we can get the community, the county, the state, and the nation. Might not be in our lifetime, might not be in the next lifetime, but we might can get it back. We might can get it back to God. I got two young kids myself. It's hard to look at seeing what I grew. I was born in 1990. I know probably some people here say, "Oh Lord, have mercy." Y'all got a lot more years on me than that. But I was born in 1990, but even born in 1990, I guess I was kind of different. I grew up around I stayed around my daddy. I went to the hunt club. I hung around with people who was his age and older and stuff. I didn't hang out with none of my age, so I guess I'm kind of different. But I think different's a good thing. Seems to be being a Christian is different. So I think I'm gonna at least myself, I'm gonna try to stick being different. And maybe whenever we can, if we can get this country back to God, we can be an oddball to the world again. Hopefully, for my children, maybe for my grandchildren's sake, that they can get some good out of it. I've seen some good myself. I believe we've got some good people there in there. I believe we've got at least 5 justices, 6 on occasion whenever depends on how the wind blows. But we've got 5 justices, I think, who's trying. Are they getting a lot of pushback? Of course they are. But they're different. They're odd. Can I truthfully say all of them, stick to the Bible, do everything they're supposed to? No. But I don't have to answer for them. I got to answer for myself. But I believe with leaders like that, and there's more people out there who can be leaders like that. I believe we can change it. We can do it right. That was my rambling for the night. Sorry. Let's close with prayer. Lord, thank you for this. Just a wonderful week. Lord, even though it's been hot, thank you for the sunshine. Thank you for the rain. Just thank you for your blessings. Thank you for being God. Lord, help us for everybody to get back to being, happy people, to get back to getting to you. Help us to be educated, not just in, our documents that we have, but in our daily walk with you, Lord. Help us to come to you. Help us to get closer to you, Lord. Lord, you don't move. You're there all the time. We fall away from you, just as the Israelites did throughout all of the history writings of the Bible, how they kept falling away, but they'd come back to you, Lord. Lord, help us as a country to come back to you. Help us to see you as the supreme judge, as the creator. Help us to love you and love each other. In your holy name, amen.